Okay, I'm going to invite you to take a good seat. Welcome. This is a practice of choice, practice you decided to choose. It's still within the power of joy or love or whatever I'm calling this series. It's based on Durga, the really powerhouse goddess who is all about protection and strength and fortitude. She's about helping us protect that which is sacred. And I know for each of us, we have our own little thing that we're wanting to expand and to know how to come home to a little more fully. And how do we like smooth out the edges of ourselves and soften a bit? We are householder yogis, which in the tantric tradition, that's kind of the thing that stole my heart about Tantra. It's a householder practice, and we get to balance having a life and having spiritual practices. We get to balance having really intense things that we're called upon to navigate and really beautiful things that we're called to embrace, and also learn how to put ourselves as priority. So whatever you have going on in your system that is inviting you to come a little more inward, like a turtle, how a turtle pulls inward into its shell. That's our peak pose of the day, maybe. Kurmasana. And how do we find refuge within the stillness of the home that we carry around with us wherever we go? And there we are. So can we find that peace and grace and solitude and respite that holds us in the deep stillness so that we can nurture and heal and show up in all of our, hi Pam, all of our badass beauty. So however you choose to sit today, go ahead. Wiggle around a little bit and try to find equal weight, left sit bone, right sit bone. And you can also use your hands to manually create that. And I caution, because if you expand one sit bone back and wide, the other side doesn't need it as much. So the spirals that expand and contract the legs and the arms in our practice, they can work in tandem, and they can also work where we might need an inner spiral more on one leg than we do the other, or an outer spiral more on one leg. Fold up your blanket into, so I folded mine in half, and then I'll fold that half in half. So it's a rectangle. I'm going to sit on it so that the folded corner goes right under my pubic bone. And my sit bones, it's like sitting on a triangle, really, is what it is. I don't know if that makes sense on Zoom, but so I've turned so instead of sitting on it, the blanket long ways, I've turned it on a diagonal. And that way I can put my pubic bone right onto the corner. And then we'll bend the knees. Hold your ankles. Pull up with the arms and push down with your feet. And like a turtle coming out of its shell, you'll now lengthen your spine as your knees squeeze to your elbows. And the other thing I hope that's happening is your pubic bone is rolling forward and down towards that blanket, and you're getting some good lumbar curve. First thing you need for safety or protection of the lower back is lumbar curve and a forward fold. Flex your toes. And we'll take that left leg and stretch it out, not to your widest. I don't care about widest. And actually what I'll do is I'll encourage you to Take a block underneath your leg, above your knee joint, above the knee joint. So it's not on the calf muscle, it's on your hamstring. There you go. Flex your ankle, pull up with that right arm, and sit up tall. And now see if you can push the femur bone down into the block. The femur bone, like you're shrink wrapping your muscles down instead of pulling them up. Pull the muscles to the bone, to the femur bone, and then the femur bone to the block. Yeah. And deep breath in. And then we'll straighten that other leg. So anytime we're going to take the leg into full extension to straight, it could put a lot of pressure because the hamstrings will pull the lumbar curve flat. So if you feel that happening, you feel your lumbar spine is starting to move posteriorly rather than anteriorly, then you'll keep the bend of the leg. So sit up nice and tall, push through the heel, push through the opposite foot, lift up through your spine, and now try to root that femur bone down into the block. And when the femur bone moves into the hamstring, it also helps keep lumbar curve. So this is really important. And when the hamstring moves into the posterior body, into the hamstring, it actually activates something called Apanavayu. And we start to feel more grounded in our bodies. And we'll do that without the block now. See if you can open left leg. Because you're sitting on a blanket, you'll have to be mindful that you don't compress the knee joint faster than your femur bone. Yeah, so maintain that. You can put your hand here and push the femur bone down into your hand, not the knee. Yeah, nice. And then other side. Your hand below. So right where your hamstring connects to your sit bone, that's the safest, that's the part you want to learn how to move faster than the distal end of the hamstring where your knee is. You want to move the proximal end right where it attaches or originates from your hip faster, at a faster rate than where the kneecap side is. Good, and release. Okay, so Upavishta Konasana. You may not need a blanket, but I'll instruct it with one. And it'll be not your widest width. That's a different pose called Samakonasana. We're not going there. Bring the elbows into, or the wrists inside the bent knees. Push the heels down and then squeeze your knees in towards your wrists. That will help pull the pubic bone back towards your sit bones, like you did when you were laying on your back. Yeah. Now, can you squeeze the glutes? So that's a good reason to keep the knees bent, because you cannot squeeze your glutes if your legs are straight, I promise. Push from the glutes to the knee to the foot to take the legs more towards straight as you fold forward. Nice. And inhale, rise up. So to come homeward into the body as a yogi is to let go of the demon of the deepest pose is the best pose, or straight legs are the best way to do the pose. If you can work and rock the seesaw principle and really get yourself grounded here, so bring your hands outside the legs, push through your heels. You've got to find lumbar curve. You've got discs between your vertebrae, and we need the discs to lift up and the vertebrae to move forward towards your belly before you take a forward fold. Now push the femur bones down into your hands. Push your heels down into the floor and see if you can hinge deep down in the where the hips meet your legs, not in the lower back. Pull this lumbar dorsal hinge, which is right where your ribs meet your lower back. Pull that part of you forward towards your heart. Yeah, there you go. And come on up. Time check. So Kurmasana is a really interesting pose. It's a very, very, very deep pose. And I know that some of you don't even, you can't, I won't let you, I won't let you go there. There's something called Diksha, the initiation of the practice. If you can fold forward and keep the lumbar curve moving forward and your lumbar hinge moving up, and you can get down, then I'll take you into Kurmasana. If you cannot, you'll keep working this version of Kurmasana and just keep the knees bent, the knees squeezing, and the lower back and the lumbar hinge moving forward. Now, if you can get down and keep that lumbar curve, then I'll invite you to bring right arm under right leg and more behind you. Press the arm up into your leg and then that femur bone down into your arm. And help yourself up. Ooh, that was a big one. And we'll do side two, their left arm. And the thing I don't want you to do is use your leg to push the shoulder forward. Keep the shoulder lifting and on your back. By pressing the palm down and the elbow up, you can keep that arm bone moving away from the floor. Then extend it out. Good, and come on up. And we'll take an etch-a-sketch moment. So cross your legs. Right hand, left knee, twist. I know there's one thing that makes lower backs really angry, and that's the deep forward folds. So give yourself a moment and take a deep breath and let the twist help you. And go the other way. And back to center. It may seem like an unusual one, but it actually makes sense. A pigeon pose right now. So you'll take right leg forward for pigeon. And up to you if you go to forearms or you keep the heart lifted. Totally up to you. What's going to feel good and healing and nurturing. And I want you to open up the hip flexor on the back leg, the outer hip on the front leg, and just find your deep breath and longer exhales. And if you want, you can bend the back knee and lift that foot. Get a good juicy quad stretch here. And extending the leg, if you bent it, drop down to the right hip and sweep the left leg forward. And it's not the pose you think we're going to. Okay. Okay. You're going to keep that leg extended out over your knee. Push through the heel. Use your hands behind you and find lumbar curve. It'll just feel good. Now, can you press the femur bone down into the bottom leg? And the bottom leg down into the ground. And that should feel pretty good inside your hip there, huh? You okay? Give me a thumbs up. Now we'll take the right hand to the outer shin, ankle, or baby toe, and that left hand as far forward as your hips and back say yes. Pull the arms into your shoulders. Turtles go inward and retreat until they feel safe. And then they can expand back out and greet and meet the world. Deep forward folds. Inhale, rise up. Pull the legs in. Then we'll take the left leg forward, right leg back. So give yourself a crawl switch, turtle style. Ujjayi breath has been quite soft throughout your practice. It's not a demanding practice, but we need the breath to keep some warmth and keep the mind from space enough. So call yourself into your being, into your body with your breath. Bend the back leg if you'd like. Go into felt sensation and follow the sensation into the knowing that you know you're feeling the good in your life. The knowing that you know you're feeling the good in your life. That was my Chit Ananda moment for the practice. Inhale, release. And come on up. Sweep the right leg around. Let it rest. Push through the heel, flex your toes. Anchor the outer hip and the femur bone down into the support below. And then use the support below to continue rooting. Hands behind, finding lumbar curve. So that's critical. There's little teeny muscles right around your tailbone. Give them a hug. And keep that as you bow and reach left hand to the ankle, the shin, or the baby toe. And walk that right hand any amount out and forward. Bending the elbows, pull the shoulder blades on your back. And let the breath love you up here. It's a deep forward fold. Totally possible to use a strap here if you need more help. Smooth and lengthen out your exhales, big long exhales. And big, juicy, loving in-breath to come up. And one last time, no blanket. We'll take Upavishta Konasana. So find that expansion of inner spiral on each side of your hip, the one that balances out the sit bones right away. So where's your tailbone? You want your sit bones to feel like they're equal distance from the tailbone. Push through your heels, squeeze the knees towards your wrists, lengthen the lumbar curve up through the heart. And then a gentle fold. Keep pushing through your heels. Now, if you'd like, you can place peace fingers Big toes, lift the elbows, but radically push through your heels. Remember, there's a midline between your ankles, a midline between your knees. That will help strengthen the inner thighs that you're endeavoring to expand and lengthen. And just think peace, stillness, presence. Anchor the tailbone and rise up with breath. Namaste. All right, that felt good. Thank you.